Hi, everybody, and welcome. I am so excited to dive into this super important topic, which is how to diagnose problems inside of your business. I talk about this actually a lot, that every business basically has three categories of problems. And I think that it's really important for us as owners to decide what problem we actually have inside of our business when we have something pop up. And most importantly, how to move forward and address some of those problems. Because what can happen is if we misdiagnose a problem, what most commonly owners tell me is that it feels like they are playing whack-a-mole. Perhaps some of you guys might feel this way, or Allie, I'm constantly putting out fires. And I'll tell you something, if you guys don't feel like investing a ton of money into um, firefighting gear or hoses or any of that stuff. What we need to do is we need to decide and help you have a framework here on how to diagnose problems in your business and also how to put them out. Because if we keep solving the wrong problems, it's kind of like spraying a fire at the head instead of the base, because what ends up happening is the fire source continues to burn. And we're actually not going into the root of the problem enough to be able to actually fix it for long term. And so this can lead to, again, feeling like you're playing whack-a-mole, feeling like you are a firefighter inside of your business. It can lead to solid inconsistencies in not only your business operations, but your top line revenue, your gross profit. Every single thing really boils down to you being able to diagnose and solve problems really, really quickly inside of your business. And at Operations Agency, we believe that creating a solid operations structure doesn't mean that you need to fill your business with red tape. It just means that you need to have a few simple systems to be able to rely on so that when stuff goes wrong as you're growing, which it inevitably will, you can fix it as quickly as possible and rebound from that issue stronger and with more momentum than when you went in, right? So that's what this session is about. I'm really, really going to just go through a really quick highlight so that we can contextualize the types of problems that we may have. And some of you guys who have either been following along with me for a while or who may have seen some of my content before will know that this is our kind of core framework for how we structure operations at Operations Agency. And it is a 3-ring Venn diagram. We don't need to get complicated with scaling up method. We do not need to get complicated with EOS method. The way that every business, in my opinion, who is operating with under 70 folks on their team should be setting up their operations simply is in this way. So we have our process, we have our systems, and we have our people. And the biggest reason why these three things are important is because the entire company's operating structure is built on these three things. And if we are trying to operate outside of that, we're getting too fancy too early and creating more complexity than we need to in order to grow the business to a point where we can start to explore some of those other options. I've never worked with a company of under 70 team who has really thrived under an EOS model, unless every single person has an engineering or an operations brain or is very, very diligent in working through cumbersome systems. I've never seen anything like that be maintainable for a team of, say, 10. You need a full-time person to be able to really create complex operating structure and be able to allow it to help you scale into the $100 million in revenue and 500-person team type of environment. So process, people, and systems. You guys may recall that between our process and our people is our knowledge base. So that is what we use to basically deposit knowledge and resources for our team to be able to pick up and understand how to do things and how we need to make sure that they stay consistent and they stay standard. We work a lot in knowledge bases over at Operations Agency. We want to make sure that our knowledge is accessible and useful to our team pretty much 24/7 if you are a remote and distributed team. So between our people and our systems is usually how we run our project. So PM, if you are a service provider, which I imagine most of you guys are, you'll be in a position where we want to make sure that we run really consistent, really profitable projects. And the best way to do that is to have our people understand when things need to happen and our systems housing the environment in which our processes and our people actually work. And so our process and our system usually collect our data, right? So what we want to do in effective decision making is we want to take this data, right? We want to take the data and we want to be able to help create a picture for us on how to properly diagnose problems. And the reason why it is so important to do that is because what often happens is we usually have a sad founder right in the middle here. And the founder feels like something is up or feels like there's a problem inside of the business. And then they just go searching, trying to find it without this very clear data picture, right? Without the specifics of what might be going wrong or how that's working. And so data needs to be pulled at three levels. And the basic three things that we have inside of the business are needs to be pulled at the process level, needs to be pulled at the system level, and it needs to be pulled at the people level. And the short term for all of these things are our key performance indicators, right? We got to make sure that we have key performance indicators defined for the how, right? So this might be quality standards, right? How something is delivered. I have a specific linear process for this. A system might be when, and then this is the why, right? So people might have a specific outcome-based process, or excuse me, key performance indicator. Why is that important? Well, it trickles right, or excuse me, it goes back right into, okay, this is important. The why is important because it meets our standard of quality, right? And what we do is we want to have key performance indicators for every single thing that is in these three categories for each of our processes, each of our key systems, and for our people. If we are running our projects in Airtable, which is what we do at Operations Agency, that system needs to be able to provide consistency on how we manage our projects and be able to help us have a clear picture of when stuff needs to happen. And if it doesn't, then this is the problem inside of my business, right? If we see that there's a missing piece in the data picture, then my thought process is, okay, if I can't pull this information and if it can't hold my team accountable, either the system is broken, right? The process is broken. So how we check this or how frequently we check this is broken, or our folks don't understand why it's really important, right? To check our project management tool and actually come in and support each other in there. So you could have a couple of different types of problems inside of the business. That one I just listed could probably cross all three areas. But what you want to do is you want to get really specific on the exact issue that you're having. So first you'll check your data picture, right? What numbers look weird? It sounds so simple, but really what we do every single week is we take a look at our client services department. And the biggest question, the thing that we need to answer in that meeting is, are we helping our clients win? And if we are helping our clients win, there are a certain number of things that need to be true within certain ranges, right? Certain numbers that we look at. And what numbers look weird? What we start to do is we start to say, oh, wow, if somebody feels like they're trailing off on their completion, the thing that is happening is the when might be off, right? We might need to go back and say, hey, what reminders have we sent out to them? How often have we touched base with them, right? We might need to increase the frequency in which we reach out to these people. And so you want to see first and foremost, what numbers look weird. Then, I know it sounds simple, but it really is this simple. You want to take a look at, is the process clear? Right? So let's just say, for example, we've got somebody trailing behind in a project. If the process is clear, Lauren, our account director, handles all of our communication for our clients. Does she have a very clear process for how frequently and in what order she reaches out to clients and tells them about the progress of their project and requests things? If that answer is yes, right, we get greenlit and then we get to pass to the next phase, which is the system clear? And this might be something simple. I know that when we talk about systems, often in operations agency, we talk about the environment in which we operate, right? In key pieces of technology inside of our office or those types of things. There was a few months ago when we moved our website over from Squarespace to Kajabi. All of a sudden, and Kelsey's probably going to chuckle because she's on this call, is all of a sudden our emails just stopped going through. And no amount of processing or encouragement to Lauren could have helped those emails get delivered. It was very clearly an environmental issue. The environment, our system, was down. And there was nothing else that we could do about that. And I think the toughest thing that we need to understand as we're diagnosing problems is that sometimes the environment is really specific and simple to diagnose, right? Like a system might be down, or the system that you're currently using doesn't allow the correct behavior to level up, right? And so as folks make decisions, big ones, I mean, we're looking at switching over our CRM as we speak, but literally sometimes it creates a pain inside of the business that the only option is to move the system or move the environment, right? If you get too big for your offices and people are working from desk chairs and on the little half wall, then you need to start considering that the environment that you've grown into is just it's too small for the growth of your business. And so making sure that you have a clear process, right? So the linear process is clear, that the environment in which you're supposed to be operating in is clear and a good bill of health, and that our people are clear, right? So this relates to expectations, right? It relates to performance, right? Do they understand what the vision is or the purpose is for their role? Do they understand some of our key processes and how to operate inside of our key systems? We had a teammate years ago who came on with incredible enthusiasm and was so excited to serve our clients. But one of the key reasons why we decided to go our separate ways very early on, I might add, inside of the relationship, was because she just wasn't understanding one of the key systems that we operated in. The uptake for our technology was way too big for her. And she was like, hey, listen, I'm actually really struggling here. And I was like, okay, well, this actually is our key system that we operate in. So we're going to need to just move on in that place. In that moment, we had a people problem, not a system problem and not a process problem. The process was clear. The system was clear. The employee was just really struggling with the uptake. And that's fine, right? We need to make sure that if we're in a position, because a different way that could have gone is we could have met with that person and said, hey, you're a great personality fit for how we're doing this work. Let's move everything into a platform that you understand, right? That would have created an amazing amount of pain later on down the line for us. And unfortunately, we had just moved systems. So we were kind of unwilling to do that, right? We had just made the adjustment into a higher growth type of project management system. And that ended up being something that we just said no to early on. So making sure that you understand whether you have a process problem, a system problem, or a people problem will really help you diagnose your problems accurately and be able to get to the root of those issues. So that might mean defining or redefining a process or a list of step-by-step tasks. That might be moving or improving a system inside of your business, a piece of technology, an environment, again, right, where your people are operating. I heard this interesting story from Alex Hormozy when he first started his in-person offices at acquisition.com. He was noticing that a lot of his video editors were going home to upload videos and do a lot of work at home. And he was like, yo, guys, what's the deal? We're paying for this office. Like, how come you guys keep going home? Well, what happened was they found out that their internet speed at the office was actually super low. Their upload speeds were like a gig a minute or something like that. And it was like super duper slow for the amount of videos. I mean, you guys all know he's one of the content kings. They couldn't upload videos fast enough to get them turned around and be able to do what they needed to do. So they would go home. So what he did was he paid the internet provider to come out and actually around the offices drill like fiber optics into the ground. I'm not like going to profess to be an expert in how that works, but what I'm saying is that he found out the environment was off. He found out that his people weren't able to follow his processes and actually meet the standards of their role because the environment in which they were operating was actually suboptimal for what they were doing. And so it can be a piece of technology, it can be your obviously your physical environment, right? If your team doesn't have the right tools, that is obviously a system issue. So the third obviously is people, right? You want to make sure that you are addressing properly your people issues. So a walk away from this, I think, is to number one is to create a clear data picture. There should be about, and I've had if you guys are clients and you're looking to have a deeper dive into key performance indicators, we talked about the data that you should be measuring in your service business a couple of months ago. And that's a really, really great training to also reference when you start to think through what type of data picture you want to create for your business. And so this will be like really 2 to 3 key performance indicators in every category, right? And I think in every category means like if you have processes that you need to create key performance indicators for, you want to look at some of the core processes in each of your departments. So create 2 or 3 of those. A great example is if our onboarding process is performing properly and all of the system and people requirements are also performing properly, then we should be able to onboard a new client fully with their audit, with their clear project picture within a 21-day period. So 21 days with the very linear steps is the process, and that has a very clear drivable key performance indicator, which we actually also are elaborating on this quarter with some upgrades to our onboarding process and our audit process. So that's really exciting. So create a clear data picture in each category. Next is to make sure that you visit with that data. I don't know how many times I have been a part of initial operations conversations with our private clients, and they're like, we made this really great report one time, and then we never looked at it again. We never updated it again. And I think it's really, really important to build some of those habits inside of your business. We talk about this all the time. Habits are going to be key to moving forward confidently, consistently, and being able to address some of these things, because what will happen is when you go in and you create this very first data picture, you're going to ask yourself the question, is this normal? And I'm going to go ahead and save you the time and lots of discussions. The answer is you don't know. If you've never created this data picture in the past, you will not know whether this is normal or not. And it won't be until you have about a full quarter's picture or snapshot of your data to be able to start saying, okay, these are the defined normal ranges, right? And then you can create an opportunity to measure and improve that data, right? So at the end of the day, you're really not going to know when you first create your data picture whether or not those ranges are normal. You want to visit with that data, and then you want to define normal after about 90 days. Right? Once you can define normal after about 90 days, then you can get into a position where you can start to go through this line of questioning, right? What stuff looks weird? Are our processes clear? Are our systems clear? Are our people clear on what we really expect them to do? So I know that this feels like something that a lot of you might not have tried yet. However, this is the framework for diagnosing issues inside of your business. It is the framework, right? Data input is required. Habitual review is required. Critical questions are required. And you want to make sure that you ask them in this order and diagnose these issues in this order. Most often than not, I will say this to kind of conclude our session here today, is that more often than not, when I work with a company who is really looking to create some more consistency, really set up their operating structure like I positioned up here, and have a more repeatable and consistent company, 9 times out of 10, their biggest issues are right here at the process level. 9 times out of 10. Because often what happens is, and I say this all the time because a lot of people will come to me and they'll say, Allie, what's your favorite project management tool? Allie, what's your favorite documentation tool? Allie, do you set up your data in Data Studio or in Smartsheet or in spreadsheets or whatever? And my answer always to folks is the best system is the one that you will actually use and supports your processes most closely. So first and foremost, defining what your process is, and then you can audition pieces of technology or environments to run that process after the fact. I know so many people who skip right to number 2 and they're like, oh, well, if we just onboard or get Monday.com set up, then everything will be fine with our projects. It's like, actually, no, you haven't quite defined the linear process and sequence of events for your projects first. And then you just upload all that stuff into Monday.com to get you more bang for your buck, right? The system itself is not going to be the thing that makes or breaks it, right? You can open up a coffee shop and have a beautiful environment, but if your process to get people in the door is broken, nobody's going to show up, and you're not going to have an opportunity to get all of the benefits of having a beautiful, organized, and exciting coffee shop with delicious coffee to be a part of, right? So I want to make sure that we've got our processes defined, and then we've got a system to be able to host everything, and then of course people to support the environment that we're creating inside of the business. So go in that order. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, it is a process problem that needs to be defined, that needs to be refined, that needs to be tweaked a little bit, and that we need to make sure it's updated in our system and that our people understand what they're doing. So go forth and conquer. This has saved me tons and tons of headache. It's also been the main difference maker in making decisions based on data and based on things I can look at black and white inside of my business and not just on my gut. I'm not saying that there's not a place inside of your business to make decisions or at least have that last 10% on a gut feeling. But what you want to do is create most of your decisions and next steps inside of the business be based on the actual evidence of something either over or underperforming, right? You want to make sure that you're betting on the right horse. So thank you guys again, as always, for taking some time to really carve out some important operations time for your business. And each and every week, we will continue to have these incredible operations chats and make these workshops available to our clients. If you guys are interested in partnering with us on your operations and creating that really clear system behind the scenes for how your processes are defined, how your systems and your environment and your business is actually supporting, and how your people can actually be incredible key players in there, go ahead over to operationsagency.com/apply to apply to work with our team. I will make sure to review every single one of those applications, and we will get a call on the calendar to chat about your current situation and whether or not we can support you. So thank you everybody so much for joining, and I'll see you guys next time.